Thank you both for being here. I think we all want more of the Chris and Eileen show, so just let us know when it's coming back. I'm still forming this question, but I'm thinking about how the two of you, your audiences have broadened a lot within the last decade with the republication of I Love Dick and Chelsea Girl, and I'm curious about the time when you were writing when it seemed like nobody would care or it was sort of impossible to think that you would be here on stage and anybody would come and pay for that. Yeah. How did you do that? Or what was that like?
She's asking about the time. It's exciting that our work has been republished and there's a bigger audience for it now, but she's thinking about the time when nobody wanted our work and it was different. And what was that like? Is that?
How did you keep writing through that?
Keep driving through that?
Yeah.
Or moving through that? Yeah, how do we manage? How do we keep driving through that?
How
I know, I keep how did you drive through that? How did you move through that period of time?
Well, I mean, that's not quite true, that nobody was interested.
Well, she didn't say it. Not many people.
I don't think I could have kept working if that were true. It was just a smaller and more intense and, like we were saying, like an art world audience. It was more of a niche audience. And at the time, it didn't feel like nobody. I mean, there was a time in New York when, there were 200 people who were the most important people to talk to, and if nobody else listened, it didn't matter. So it's not like I always felt, the one thing I wanted maybe was that some people in the literary world would read my books and take them seriously, or maybe one or two people my own age would, because it was mostly younger artists who were picking up on my work. But for it to be small didn't bother me that much. It's a fluke that things happen a different way and things move through the culture, and younger people picked up on my work and took it to places that it wouldn't have gone otherwise. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing and wonderful. But it was, that's just a kind of, that's a plus, but it wasn't exactly ever a lack.
Mm. We mentioned this earlier, but I think at last point, we were sitting at Dunkin' Donuts across the street before the event, and we were like, what are we going to talk about, And I think, and both of us just acknowledged that it was just like the discovery of our work by a younger generation of mostly women, but men too, yeah. and has been so much why we've gotten more attention, And I remember in ’95 when I met Michelle T. And she invited me to an open mic when Sister Spit was an open mic, and suddenly it was this nightclub in San Francisco crowded with girls, and they all knew my work because Michelle had told, it was sort of like, maybe some of them, but it was just this kind of moment where you found your readers. But before that, it was like, the open mic in New York in the 70s, and my 10 poet friends, and then my 30 friends, and then my 100 friends, and my 400 friends. It's like the thing in your book you say about Kathy, that before she was known, it was mail art. She would mail out serial chapters of her novels to a mailing list that she got from some older artist. And
600 names that she got from the artists David and Eleanor Anton. But, those were considered the 600 people that had to see it or read it.
The only 600
And really
people.
Nothing else mattered.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing that I think you wrote was that, and that was the only time she really experienced community.
Right.
Because she was a onesie, and I think we were much more, you curated a series at St. Mark's Church, and, were involved collectively with theater and with, I directed the poetry project. We both always worked in community for a long time, so our audiences were our social groups. And also it's just like, it's like that time now is huge subject matter, but the thing that's so great about being young and starting out as an artist is that, nobody cares except you and your friends, and so that you just can expand, and such a beautiful time is so slow and so rich and so important and just open, whereas it's just like later when people actually give a shit about your work, it's sort of, you have to make space in a way, because there's less of it.
And that's a time that I mean, that's not one particular period. That repeats over and over again. I mean, you know, in the last half decade, I mean, all over the place, there are people outside the main centers who are approaching their work with so much intensity and seriousness, and their friends are equally committed, and they somehow make where they are at the center for that time, for however long it lasts. Mm-hmm. So that's always a possibility.
And then the thing you just said, it's like the center is not the center. I mean, that's the thing that's really, I mean, like a couple of years ago when I started getting all this attention and they were, you know, it sounded like I had crawled out of a gutter. You know, it's just like, unknown poet makes good. You know, and it was like, like if we're saying, unknown to who? And it all acted like this kind of powerful world of the New York Times and mainstream publishing was like it and the thing to touch, and all the rest was shit. And,
yeah.
and that's like saying an artist space is not the place and the gallery and the bank account is the place. You know? I mean, no, the center is not the center. There's lots of centers.